Let's do this. So, did you read it? Did you read the whole thing?
I did read the post, yes.
I'm excited.
Yeah, no. I'm excited.
I'm not excited for this beard. I want to say goodbye to it. I'll be really, really sad.
Yeah.
It'll come back in like a week or two, whatever. It's not a big snow.
I don't know. Why not? Nothing wrong with the beard. You know, you can trim it down yourself too. You know.
Yeah, I know I could do that, but I mean, like, I'm like super self-conscious. So like, if I'm shaved, like, I'll feel like my face is like too round. I mean, it's like I don't know, like my like Dee's been saying, it's like, oh yeah, I keep hearing like, you know, men are bitching about like not being able to cut their hair, women are bitching about not being able to like get their nails done, or like their other things that I'm like, wait, so you need to have a person do it? You can't just do that kind of stuff on your own? And I used to cut my hair, but there's
you
like
cut your own hair.
I used to cut my own hair, but there's also no visual record of me ever doing it, because it was bad. It was
That's fair.
It was really bad. So
my wife actually cut my hair the way it is right now.
Oh, your wife cuts your hair. Well,
she watched a YouTube video and figured, well, no, this is normally very difficult to manage, but you know, military, so we have to have certain grooming standards. They actually relax those standards, which is crazy. I've never seen them do that. But she watched a YouTube video, and it took a couple tries, but I was like, well, if it doesn't work, I'll just go the old Justin Timberlake and just shave it off.
You know, Dee has been saying, she's like, you know what, I do have clippers, I can cut your hair, and I'm like, yeah, I know. You know, maybe we'll wait a little bit, and I don't know, like I think the time is gonna come where I'm gonna be like, you know what, it's just hair. Let's just do it. So
sure.
Picture looks good now. It looks real good right now. So anyway, welcome back, folks. We're back for some tank talk. I'm here with my more attractive half, Shaddux. He's my co-tank. And
do yourself a disservice, so.
So shoot, how long we've tanked together for like 2 full expansions now.
Yeah, at least, yeah. Going on 5 years, maybe.
Yeah, like time flies, man. I should really like see at this point.
Does it?
Well, maybe. I mean, I think it's come to the point where, like, you know, in some regards, we're like partners in that. So it's like, oh, I haven't even really met your family, or like really like got to know the kids and any of that stuff. Sometime I'll come visit. I don't know. I'm just kidding.
Sure, it's quite a drive.
Well, what part of
I live in a suburb of Denver.
Oh, okay. So that's like an hour and some change away from Colorado Springs, which is where I used to live for a very short time.
Right. Yep. Down south. Yep.
So anyway, why are we here for today's Tank Talk? We're here to kind of do maybe a sort of post-mortem on how I'm sorry, I'm like talking about Shadowlands already.
I know. See, it's so on the buzz, right? Like as soon as that post dropped, you're like, I can think of nothing else. Like, live game is dead to me. It's alpha all the way.
Pretty much. So that's going to be a struggle. But anyway, we're going to be talking about like the last parts of Battle for Azeroth. Battle for Azeroth is done. Shadowlands has been announced. Alpha is going to be starting like anytime this week now. But in the meantime, Shad and I are going to go over mostly 8.3 stuff, and maybe we'll touch on like some general Battle for Azeroth goodness from our perspective. You know, as we've played it, as not like the super hardcore sim this, sim that, although we do that like a little bit here and there.
Well, we're tanks. We're not really simming.
Yeah, not sure. That big of a deal. It's like, what are we doing? Like trying to top meters? Yeah, we're trying to top meters. Yeah, of course we are.
Twilight Dev all the way.
Absolutely. So we'll be talking about that among other things. Shad was gracious enough to pretty much have kind of an outline of just about everything that I wanted to talk about. Talking about a little bit of the raid, Nyalotha, talking about visions, corruption, and etc. Of course. So, how did we feel as tanks about this raid? I'll let you know. I want to go first this time. You go first.
Please do. All right.
It was all right. I always judge a raid by its components and all that stuff. And so it's always by fight, and I don't want to go through like the entire fight by fight analysis or anything like that.
Sure.
I did have like a favorite and a not favorite, but I think I'm maybe it's me, or maybe it just happened to be the way that the encounter mechanics were designed, but it was more misses than hits with Nyalotha. I think I'm getting worn. I'm really worn out from the whole tank swap mechanic. Swap on this, swap on that. I know that there are we have seen instances, and Nyalotha is not an exception, where hey, there's a different thing that makes us switch, but there's not enough of that. I just don't like how the default is swap on this. I want the default meta of encounter design for tanking to be something else, because I'm jealous. Everyone else gets to do all this fun stuff. Like, I mean, I guess we could do like pushing balls, and things like that, but we decided not to, and we just decided to try and top our meters instead. But oh well. But yeah, for me, it was more misses than hits. So, floor is yours.
Yeah, no, I actually agree with you. I think it's feel real meh about it, and I'm excited they put in 12 bosses, but maybe was that too many if they're not going to put a lot of effort into some of these?
I think it was maybe too many bosses, because some of those bosses were just like
some are just reskins of like vanilla things, like Shaddux, like is just a remodel of an old dog. Like, I mean, I appreciate the name of Shad and all, but I mean, really, and the tank mechanics are nice, right? It's kind of the Ursoc, quick swap back and forth, and I like staying on your toes. That's what keeps us busy. But you're right, for the most part, it is swap on 2 stacks, swap on 7 stacks, and yeah, Dark Inquisitor itself is nothing happens in that fight if you're a tank.
Which one was Dark Inquisitor? The ball
That's
one?
that's moving the ball around.
So yeah. So
we could stand in one spot. Maybe we should try this next time and try to never move. Like,
I'm pretty sure that we don't need a second tank for it. We've just been doing it for fun, because it's what, like a 25% increase damage. And by the way, remember, we're talking like heroic
just
bosses
heroic
and stuff. So take that as you will, elitists.
Sure. There's always the one comment of like, well, if you guys would do mythic, half these problems would be solved.
yeah, exactly.
I get it. I get it.
Oh, definitely. But yeah, when it comes to like Xanish football boss, man, there was so little going on for that one. Now, by contrast, you mentioned Shadhar. I like that fight because it was simple. It had it looked similar to that dog in Black and Lair. The mechanics wise were similar, or very similar to Ursoc, but it was still an intense fight.
Yeah.
Where it was like, oh, I made a mistake. We're dead. Or, oh, I made a mistake. Let's use tricks to keep each other alive. Or, oh, I got double crushed, so you go ahead and take it. Or you got double dissolve, so I can use something on you. So there was a cool thing that happened there. But compared to like other fights, like Drestagath, that I'm gonna remember that name, Drestagath, because that fight sucked. I did not like that fight at all, because of how little that we did. Things didn't feel very impactful at all, and it was kind of buggy too. Maybe I just wasn't understanding it correctly, but why would one of us keep getting that circle buff?
No, I do not understand that, actually. I wonder as well, because I purposely I always pay attention to that, and frame and target to target is you, and then I'll come back into it, and then it'll just pick me again, and I'm like, if I go, I'll see you again. It's like, see you in 10 seconds.
All right, dude. I'll see you around. That, and as for what we're doing mechanically, like, we're just pooping stuff in the right spots, and then while we're there, we're just kind of standing there. So me as a paladin, I'm like, all right, cool. At least I can like heal myself, flash heal myself, do things like that. But then other tanks, it's just like, okay, what do I do? I'll throw something. There's still very little that we're doing in that particular fight, and so that one was hard to appreciate. Something like Rathian was like, okay, that's like a simple, first boss. I think it felt simpler than like, let's say, what was that one? The one in Boda, Champion of the Light or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
That one felt more intense. And I don't even think we did that fight correctly at all. Like, didn't we just kind of cheese it for the most
Well,
part?
we tanked that one, right? 'Cause basically cheeses the entire thing.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's not fun.
yeah. So we never learned that fight, but oh well. But yeah, I mean,
Who knows?
Rathian was maybe Rathian was straightforward, but then that one wasn't very
I enjoy
exciting.
Rathian. The one thing I do wish, though, if you do it as a demon hunter, when you see the the enemies that are in shadows, it doesn't work. They still stun you. Like
Also,
that should be like a gimme, because you'll see them spawn up, like the little guys you got to grab up
yeah.
during the
Also,
transition.
wait. So
They'll stun you for 10 seconds.
do they actually target the tanks too? Like
They do if you do the. I'm sorry, I don't have the thing up of what that spell is
whatever.
specifically called, but where you see the characters in stealth as a demon hunter, and then they will pick you, and then they will stun you.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're actually
Okay.
punished for using your toolbook.
That's what you get for aggro, I
I know.
suppose.
Shame on me for trying to use my spells that they gave me.
Did you have a favorite boss in there?
Do I have a favorite boss? I have two bosses that I enjoy. I like Hive Mind. I'm a sucker for ad fights. I
Okay.
like giant meters and blowing them up, and I like Shadhar, but that's really only because it's basically the same fight that anybody watch Roll TikTok. I thought Ursoc was my favorite fight back in whatever the Emerald Nightmare.
Emerald Nightmare. Yeah.
That was my favorite boss of that one too. I like thinking on your toes of like, here's that spell. You have to pay attention. There's no way to cheese that, right? Like there's no DBM timer telling me in 10 seconds I have to swap. It's
Right.
oh well, what is coming out? And paying attention to that. And it wasn't difficult by any means, but it's still fun. And
We messed up a number of times there. It's
yeah,
like, oh,
it
double
happens.
this, or we were relying on the add-ons a bit too much. Relying on like the audio cues to like tell us, oh, taunt now, or it would like throw us off. And I know that after a certain point, like I just abandoned DBM or whatever I was using, and I was just like, I'm just gonna look at the stupid cast bar, and okay. He got that, and then we were doing the same thing. We were just kind of mouthing off to each other. It's like, oh, okay, I got crushed, you got dissolved, and then I taunted, and so on and so forth. So it was nice going. It was nice going low tech for that particular one.
That's fair. I think you can go low tech for all these fights actually. I don't think there's a single fight that I had to do like any type of weak aura work or anything like that. Everything's very like built into the UI of what you should do, right? I didn't have to think outside the box in any way. And I guess it's good for the game that you don't necessarily want like all players to have to go outside their comfort zone of which the game provides to try to create something to make a fight better. But you don't have to do anything with these. I do appreciate some of the mechanics they try to do, like the Skitra, like one tank having to like splitting realms and like setting up markers, so the rest of the raid could see like what is like the one you got to kill. I thought that was a very clever mechanic.
I thought that was pretty fun. Yeah.
Yeah, and once they fix the fight, it's better. Like having to do that 4 times was a bit much, but the new setup is good. I do like that. I think it's interesting. The Xanash hitting the balls, even though for tanks that fight is terrible. I appreciate them trying new mechanics, right? Like they went outside the box, and I think that's one thing that I didn't see a lot in this raid is there wasn't a lot of new thinking to the game. It's bringing back similar mechanics we've seen elsewhere and just throwing it into the fight. Like Rodden itself was almost a 90% copy of a fight that already exists, and just move it in.
Yeah. I actually I kind of liked the mount fight. I kind of like that one because we had to do different things for that one. It's like
we had to do math on that. That was tough.
It's like, do this one. Okay, no. Go on, hold on to it. Yeah, so we had to do some interesting things for that one, where we had to have we just let the ad go ahead and get eaten right away, so that we can just get some extra bloodlust time on that, and based on that, we can kill the next ad, let the third one go, and then go to town. The only thing that did frustrate me was the whole catching ball stuff, because he's big.
Sure.
That motherfucker's tall, and so trying to look past him and trying to look for, okay, where's that swirly mabobber or the ball, or the swirly before the ball comes out.
Right.
That got to be a little bit frustrating because I'm like, okay, I'm like moving around my camera like a crazy person trying to find this thing. If I use my horse, at the wrong time, there goes my horse, and then boom, the raid is going to take like a crap ton of damage. But I found that interesting, along with trying to control the fight a little bit by just kind of holding on to the Voidwalker dude inside the stuff towards the end of the fight, and be like, oh, just go ahead and burn the guys. We'll just try to
Sure.
hold on to this for as long as we can. So I like that. And I did like Shadhar. What did you think of Nazoth though?
Nazoth.
Yeah.
I think that's it, right? There's a lot of exhaling. I think repeating the same phase 3 times just is an idea, right? Like
Okay.
to have the whole raid do it once, and then we split into teams. I'm only talking about the rogue version here. For the normal, we did it 3 times,
Yeah.
but having to split that up, it's interesting for like the first 2 or 3 times, but once you have it, it's just a numbers game, and I don't know. I just thought it wasn't as exciting. I don't know, it's kind of a letdown. It doesn't help either. Like the cinematic is just, again, kind of a dud. But the music is good though. I'll give him that. The music, like when we first did it, like the swell and all that, actually listening with headphones rather than like on my phone on YouTube, somebody threw out there. The music is good and emotional, and I appreciate that.
I haven't heard the music actually.
Really? That's right, because yours auto skipped, didn't it?
Yeah, mine of it. Well, I don't play with music on. I'll play with sounds on and everything, but not with music. So I think I need to go back and listen to that guy.
It'll change your. It'll add 5 points to whatever score you gave it previously. But I wasn't super excited. I almost want to go back to one of the boss that I thought was going to be amazing and wasn't as fun as I was hoping it was Vexiona. Like I thought that was
that one, yeah,
right?
yeah, the laser.
Like once we first kind of worked through that, I was like, oh man, it's gonna be so awesome and all that. But the way that they designed the ads and that you could never really gather them up to nuke them all down. So that took away the fun of like just smoking those guys.
Yeah, there didn't. It seemed to be more of a debuff cleanse than a hey, this is cool. Let's go ahead and use some DPS. Focus DPS more on the boss while I take care of the ads because like I'm doing this awesome stuff. It turned out that now we have our own little beam called Twilight Devastation that does that like all the time anyway. So
yeah, there's no reason, and because it felt like when we were first trying to work it out, we're like, all right, good, we'll swap here and all that, and then once we kind of figured out that it's just cleanses debuff. I tanked the dragon the entire time, and you always tank the ads. You're like, I don't think the fight was designed to do that, but the way they built it, that's what we did, and it made it super easy.
At the same time,
I had high hopes for that when we first walked into there.
At the same time, I liked it because I didn't have to do a whole tank swap like the way that we were normally doing it. It was more like just hold on to as many debuffs as you can. We'll support you as long as you can until you die, and then we'll pick it up the rest of I'll pick it up the rest of the way, or vice versa. So it was cool that we had like entirely different roles. That's something that I enjoyed about the fight. And it's funny because as we were progressing through, I kept thinking in my head, okay, there's some point where we need to swap, or we need to control this like a little bit better, or we need to use the laser more, and blah, blah, blah. But then it just turns out that if we just stuck to the original, to these roles that we gave ourselves, and excelled at that, then we'll be able to overcome any other sort of, we'll be able to overcome the mechanics. And I don't know, maybe that was the intended way to go from the start. I'm not sure.
Don't know.
Yeah, it depends on what they had designed it to be, but hey, we got it anyway, so whatever.
Yeah, done.
But yeah, as for Nazoth, like I kind of the same as you, like doing the same thing. Like the repetitiveness of it was a bit much. I was hoping that like the upstairs team, or the team that would be like upstairs taking care of tentacles, that things would change up for them. But it turns out it was like the same thing. Whereas the downstairs team that was dealing with Psychus and all the other tentacle shits, they had to deal with like fire on the ground or watch how you're moving and things like that. Meanwhile, we're upstairs. We're like, all right, team, let's take that tentacle, interrupt that guy over there. I got that one over there. Paranoia in 5. All right, and so that part was The last phase,
they spawned in the same place too, right? Like
even
where they spawned didn't change. I mean, the one corruptor tentacle with the eye, like that would move, but like the big striker tentacles, like
it wasn't that big.
always in the same spot. You could lay down a marker and then try again in the same spots where it's going to be.
I did enjoy the last phase though. The last phase, at least,
Sure.
it felt hectic, and we only experienced it like so many times before getting the kill. So whenever we'd see it, it'd be like, okay, what are we doing again? Oh, everyone's saying a one on their chat bubbles. Let's all move. No. Stay in the circle. Stay in the circle. Okay, cool. No. You need to stay out. What's up? Because your corruption sucks, and what So it was that sort of it was that sort of deal. So that felt cool. It just didn't feel as I guess in a good way. It didn't feel as hectic. It was like, oh my god, everyone's dead except for like 2 people. Come on, let's eke out that little bit of DPS. Once we got it, it felt pretty clean.
Sure.
At the end. So yeah,
that is it.
Yeah, that is it. You mentioned here, do I miss tier sets? I'll let you kick off with this one. Do you miss tier sets?
Wow, that's a good question. I don't know if I actually miss tier sets. I don't think Azerite armor is the answer, and I think we can do a whole thing on our whole, like, what we feel about the entire expansion as a whole. I don't think we'll talk more about that, but
yeah, we can touch on this right now.
I don't mind. I don't mind having. I like the idea of tier sets, right? That something that changes up your mechanics from patch to patch. I appreciate that. It makes the raid much more relevant, and that's always great, right? Yeah. But I think there's a way you can have a happy medium on both these things, of how either the Azerite armor or the traits, where no matter which path you're progressing, that you can make it work. So I just hope they give more. We'll see in Shadowlands, right? I'm sure that's one of the first things people are going to look up is, what gear is dropping from the raids or whatever as soon as they're available, and how they're going to do that. Like, what is the new legendary Azerite armor? What's the new gimmick for gearing? That's actually what I'm most excited to see in the alpha. How they're going to work that. But I actually don't miss tier sets. Just from somebody who plays a lot of alts, I do appreciate that I don't have to jam every single tank that I play and try to like get him in to raids as quickly as possible, and take away gear that somebody else might need, right? Because somebody else could really be using those tokens.
Right.
Where I'm just trying to shuffle through as many alts as I can so I can do things like Mythic Plus and stuff on my own time. Where the current gearing that I can get all of my Azerite armor from Mythic Plus, and I don't even have to rely on the raid, and I like that. I do wish the raid trinkets were better. Maybe that would make it, like, maybe that's what they need to focus on, is let's make those raid trinkets really great. Or like you've talked about in the past, finding a way to make whatever gear you're getting relevant to the content that you are doing, right? So maybe make tier sets, but they are, while in Nyalotha, you get 15% extra damage on whatever it is you're doing, a blackout strike or something, whatever. That's a minor idea, but do something like that. Just make it relevant to the content that you're doing, and I think that's the way you fix all of it.
No, I agree with you in pretty much all those cases where we want to have people like us. We've been clamoring for, hey, we want the gear that comes from raids to feel cool or to feel unique compared to the other content. We want it to be cool, but then we also I also feel like I want it to be balanced to a point where it's like, okay, I don't want to feel like I have to go into this raid to get this gear because it sims the best or something like that. So that's why I was campaigning for like that whole kind of differentiation of having bonuses that were specific, and we saw a little teeny bit of it during the Eternal Palace stuff with Benthic gear. There was there were effects or procs or other bonuses that only applied to the raid. It didn't apply outside anywhere else, and in some ways that felt cool, but in some ways it's like, okay, all this time that I invested, all these mono pearls that I farmed to get this cool gear, okay, great, it's cool in the raid, but I'm not a raider. I do Mythic Plus, so what's Najatar and all that content, what's that gonna do for me? Probably not all that much. So I would like to see a little. I don't miss tier sets either. From a management standpoint, I hated hearing from the guild being like, okay, let's implement these tier rules and make sure that we
I have 3 pieces. Like, just give me the one piece.
Yeah, and then I would have to like listen to someone. Okay, just sell me on
Sure.
this. You know, is this actually going to be better for the team,
Right.
or what? Because this other person doesn't have any tier pieces, and yada yada yada. Or some people are like, okay, I can get a 4 set, and I know it's going to be good, but I really don't want this other person to feel bad. So it's great when the team decides for themselves to pass on gear for the sake of keeping everyone happy. But I don't
Mhm.
like having that kind of situation. Anyway, now of course that happens with gear. Period. It's like, okay,
Sure.
the best in slot drink get dropped and everyone wants it. But at least in that case, it's just a matter of who wins the role, and and having the conversation of, okay, is this better for the team? It's just not as bad as when I have to deal with it with not just trinkets, but also all these other pieces that make up those that make up like a tier set or something like that. Now, as for like class sets, like unique armors and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Because a lot of people, they kind of mush that together. It's like, okay, yeah, I really like tier sets because I really don't like the look of this gear and blah blah blah. I'm like, no, no, no. You're talking about tier sets or tier bonuses. But when it comes to like those class sets, I don't miss those either. I think I would be happy with just having more sets.
Sure.
I could care less whether it's a paladin set or a death knight set or whatever.
Right.
But in Shadowlands, I'm gonna want to see, we are going to see like a Kyrian set and a Revendreth set, and all the different Covenant things and all that stuff. I just want to see more variations. I don't want
Yeah.
to see all the plate gear being the same. I don't want to see the mail
Right.
gear all being the same per tier. I want to see like something different. Doesn't have to be class, but it just need but it would be great. It would be a big service if it was just like different. So
Yeah, and just more transmog options as the game continues to move forward. Just, I mean, people are mixing and matching everything. I'm not sure even how many people actually out there are wearing like a full one piece of all a specific set, except for maybe some of that Legion stuff 'cause it's super good. But I don't know, like really, like who is rocking on like the full Boda set? Is that some people do? I have a couple pieces on a few of my characters, or they mix well into other things, right? You can be creative, create your own system. Yeah, do that. Just more transmog, pump it out.
yeah, when it looks good, it looks good. And I don't know, like
And you
I
don't gotta look all good, like yeah, head to toe, all the whole set. Just spend some time on some nice gloves
yeah,
and throw them in
yeah,
the game.
yeah.
Like,
I think of like the sets in BFA and the set, and notably the Antora set in Legion. Like, it was a great like single piece of armor, but there were a lot of pieces where it's like, okay, if I transmog this thing out, it's going to make everything else look like trash. Or if this piece clearly is only designed to belong as long as everything else is transmogged like the same way. So it's
sure,
seeing a little bit more interconnectability. I don't even know, the word's not coming to me, but I just want to see
that feels good
pieces.
enough.
Yeah, I want to see pieces be able to fit like in different ways and not feel like it has to be like a complete just a complete set or something.
Yeah, and I do appreciate some of the earlier tier sets were that way. I thought for both not necessarily Boda isn't necessarily the right one. What was the
the
first raid?
the Warfront set.
No,
Oh,
not the
you're talking about
Warfront set's great, right?
yeah, Warfront set
Uldir,
worked.
like
Uldir
that was
worked.
a real basic set of
Hmm.
like classic traditional like fantasy knight. I'm talking about the plate set.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And you could kind of put some of those pieces in where like if you couldn't have like a low res like copper piece, you could steal that piece from that
yeah.
site and kind of update your kit. It looked good. I like
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Unlike but then the other ones, not so much. The plate one for Nihilotha, that one worked out like a little bit better, but it's still kind of a tough sell for that one.
Sure.
But oh well. So with patch 8.3, not only do we get the final raid, not only do we get the end of Titan Fortune, but we got this new fangled thing, which is going to go away as well, called Horrific Visions. I'll talk about corruption soon, but we got this new single player content, and it's funny, audience people, because Shad and I we don't see this. We don't see eye to eye on Horrific Visions. Am I right on that?
Yeah, no, I'd agree.
Okay, so we don't see eye to eye. As you guys might know, I've been no lifing it like a crack fiend, and meanwhile Shad is like, oh god, I gotta do this. It's sort of that feeling. So
That's fair.
you guys know how I feel. So I'll let Shad talk about how he feels about Visions.
That's fair. Well, in known life, I do have 4 characters who have rank 13 or higher cloaks. I think I have 2 max rank 15.
Nice.
Well, so I do it right,
Right?
but
Yeah.
I do it anger. No, my major issue is that when it first came out, it was very exciting. I think the level and progression and all that is nice, but the continued repetitiveness of the same is almost too much to bear. Right, where I'm glad they did the hotfix. There was a part where what was it like? You'd have to do the same vision 8 times to get like 1 rank or whatever for a while.
Yes, and now it's
Or
gone
whatever it
to
was. And I think it's like 4. It's
4.
4 is the most you ever have to do to move up to like the next.
That's right. That's right.
Thank goodness they did that, because this felt bad. Because one, when it was like that initially, like if you made one mistake, if you tried to push yourself, you were penalized severely for that. Especially the way the currency rates were before the hotfix.
Right.
Yeah, it was, you were penalized for trying to push yourself, right? And this game shouldn't do that. This should want to push you in the direction of you maximizing your potential, like is trying your best to go outside of your comfort zone. And initially it wasn't that way at all. And so I had a real bad taste just from that alone. I'm feeling bad for like guildies of like, oh, I'm gonna try to go for like, 3 chests this on rank 3, and like they'd botch it, and you're like, oh great, you're gonna be a week behind now. I'll see you when I see you. So I think that was the wrong way to go in the beginning. But for me, it's super repetitive of the same thing. And I feel like the rewards aren't actually great. I'm glad they're all corrupted now. That's something. But in order to get rewards that are valuable to you, you have to be masking, right? You're not just like 5 chesting. You need to be, 3, 4, 5 masking these things. In order to accomplish most of that, the majority of uh, the piece of the game that you're playing, like how to properly do the mechanics, a lot of it's just standing there and waiting for things to finish, right? Like finish for your double thing, just slowly sliding out of a circle and like scooting along. You're almost punished more for doing big pulls, like for trying to go bigger. You're punished severely for that. Where pack by pack is the way to go. I also got really frustrated. I was doing a Stormwind on my Death Knight the other day, just doing a 4 chest. My internet hiccuped for about 5 seconds, and I came back dead.
Oh.
It just happened to be right that thing where I stood in the thing, made me wander, and then so I wandered into a square, and then I got disoriented, and then I got hit by some guy's like the big beam thing in the mage district, that little blobby guy, right? So like one false move and that you're done. My internet just hiccuped for just a second, gone. So now I gotta wait till next week to get to the last 2 pages I need for that. And I just don't find that type of game fulfilling. Where we can talk about this after you give your circumstances, but in the Mythic Plus situation, I know it's still repetitive content, but I think the players are rewarded for thinking outside the box, coming up with better strategies, for going bigger, for pushing themselves harder. There's much more reward in that. Where Visions, it is the same thing over and over and over, and for pushing yourself to a further extent, you actually almost punish more for that. And the gear that it gives, typically, again, in my opinion, tends to be relevant for, you're almost outgearing that as well. Like now it's corruption. I'll change my mindset on that. But initially, I think when there wasn't a guaranteed corruption on that, like to be getting 5 masking, you were probably already 470 item level already. So it's not giving you anything you don't already have. You're not progressing your gear sets. You're just maintaining the status quo. But again, the hotfix, I think, changed a little bit of my mindset for gearing and earning the currencies. But it is just too much the same thing, the way that you do the content. Like how many times do you end up doing the same vision to get all the way to rank 15?
What do you mean? Like did I
like, so yes, you gotta do like the rank 1, you gotta do this 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like I'm just trying to say how many visions total do
Oh,
you need to
right.
complete in order to actually get a rank 15 quote?
Well, when I think by
Oh,
the time we needed to get like those last ranks, that's when the hot
mhm.
fixes came in. So no one had to do the whole, hey, you got to do 8 visions in order to actually finish. Like
Yes.
they fixed it before that happened. Um, so I believe maybe give or take 1 or 2 runs, at least on my tank. I always progressed. Like I always got like everything that I needed. So like I mean, basically, I was able to rank up every week. Um,
Right. Same as me. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I'm fully on schedule on my monk.
hmm But as for whether or not like I needed like multiple runs, I'm not sure. I think it was like maybe 2 or 3 extra runs that I had to do during that bigger slog. When you're farming the corrupted areas, because
Right.
I think at some point it was kind of in the middle of things. That's yeah, I remember this. Um, you were only able to get 2 of those pages, and then there was a hot fix where you can get pages from all 4 of those zones
Right.
afterwards.
Good fix.
Yeah, which is a great fix. But I
Right.
know that I had done a couple of runs, so I kind of missed out a little bit there. Otherwise, though, it didn't really like put me off schedule or put me behind
Sure.
or anything like that. Um, but
But what I'm trying to say is like, so I I'm just rough math off my head. So in order to get to rank 15, like what do you got like is like 24 visions or something like that in total, right? Because it's like
let's
complete
say
one,
yes.
one, 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 and then two. Yeah, I forgot what it is now, and I know you can kind of cheese it a little bit because yeah, some of them were if you can manage to 5 chest it, you can get that one
hmm
uh that 8 piece one and done in the right away. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's significant, right? It's
hmm
a lot of the same content.
It is pretty repetitive, especially because considering that there's just 2 maps. Unlike Mythic Plus, you have all of the Mythic Plus dungeons. You have that whole pool to choose from. So the way I see it, at least with what they had to work with, what Blizzard had to work with. Okay, here's these 2 maps. We don't have this whole dynamic tech Torghast, technology, and yet here's what we can do. Um, it still feels like it was a successful first go at it. I'm not quite sure like how much of this is going to be adopted into Torghast because it feels like it's going to be an entirely different approach altogether. But there are 2 things that I still have gripe that there are 2 big that I had over her visions, and one was at the very start, and I tried to give feedback on this too. There just wasn't enough currency going around.
Sure, agreed.
Getting at most 2 tries, and you had to basically grind like the worst shit ever in order to push that third try. That was a bit much. For those who don't remember, once upon a time, you only got like a whopping 50 of those coalescing visions per daily. And that was extremely punishing. And so my whole strategy that I would tell people was, oh, here's what you do, guys. Don't do it. Just don't do them at all, and you'll
And
be
I took
you'll
your
be
advice.
better off. Yeah, and you'll be better off.
I've done 0 daily.
Yeah. And so now it's gone up to I believe like 375 or 325. It's much better now, and then there's so many more buffs that you can get that you can easily get 3. You can easily get 3 tries if you tried really hard. You can get almost 5, something like that. But even then, it's such a slog to do. But funny enough, that's what enabled me as a person who doesn't play alts at all to be like, I'm gonna play fucking all of them. So I have all 12 alts that are cloak ready. And there should have been another skip in there for that unlock quest. They should have been able to skip the Rathian one. That would have like went a long way.
It's not even the skips. It's the if you can port out if you can port out a diamond guy out of here, why can't you port me out?
Yeah, that's true too. It's like, hey Maggie, what gives, man? At least like hook me up
Yeah,
with a teleport or something
just
like
a
that.
few teleports would have really made that. Like Rathian could have been like, hey, you know, go to Blackwing Lair. I'll port you there in a second, or ride this dragon over there.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
like like it does at the end of the your rank 3 Crucible of Flame one, right?
hmm
Like you just hop on the dragon, it brings you all the way back to the heart.
Yeah, so it's
Do that.
inconsistent in that regard. It's like, okay, we had skips here, but we don't have a skip here. We don't need to travel here, but we do need to travel there. It's like, at least try to smooth that out. And I know a bunch of us tried to give feedback on that as well. It's like, okay, this is cool, but this travel time is going to be a big pain in the ass. I mean, I everything else I get. It's like part of the intro is actually doing the daily content, so at
Sure.
least you have that out of the way. Cool, I have no complaints over that. But then like the travel time, not so much.
I don't mind. I
Um,
don't mind traveling the world. I'm still a vanilla person. I get it. Like you want to get people out and see the world. So I actually don't have much of a problem. Mine is really just like the kind of inconsistencies in the
right,
teleport
right,
things.
right.
Is like the I get making a game reason for it of like, oh, I can't go there, fly there for me.
Hmm.
But like you just teleport out of here, man. Now I gotta use my Hearthstone, go back to take the portal down here. Now I burned it just because
Hmm.
that kind of thing makes it silly. Where like they're almost like purposely trying to like make you burn your Hearthstone to spend the extra 15 minutes that you got to spend going around. Mm.
The other big gripe that I have about horrific visions that's still in place and it's not going to be fixed is that you don't get trinkets, you don't get rings, you don't get weapons, and that's a lot of slots that you're missing out of. So like for those who probably watched it, like I'm doing this whole experiment with trying to clear 5 chest runs with by just doing visions and the world content that I do in order to get access to these visions. So I'm able to clear 5 chest runs on like on characters that are like within like the 430-ish 440-ish item level, which is okay. That feels like it's fairly balanced. But when it comes to trying to get all the gear that I feel like I need to do it, I'm out there in the world doing world quests and things like that, but I'm utterly dependent on emissary quests in order to get like a 440 something weapon, or some sort of weapon from a world quest, and so I feel really helpless in that regard. It would have been a lot nicer if we were able to get a chance at some gear from doing the assaults or doing the horrific visions themselves.
Sure.
Preferably, maybe just the horrific visions, if that's yeah, that would have done it. But
Make
otherwise,
it part of the currency. Hey,
yeah,
Rathian has these sweet swords that he'll give you like a 440.
yeah, I would have taken something like that, like a good
Yeah.
starting sword. It doesn't necessarily have to be like a 470 such and such thing and all that. Um, but yeah, for me, visions have I'm not gonna gush on it too much because people have already heard it enough for me. But um, I think it has been a pretty successful go at content for a certain kind of audience. It's not for everybody. It's not for the kind of person that wants to push item level and get into like high level keys and things like that. For them, it might be almost a waste of time. Apart from getting their 5 mask, getting their 470, hoping that it's decent, and then moving on to the things that they actually want to do. But for someone who wants to definitely go at their own pace, who doesn't have the dedication or the time or whatever to schedule a raid, or doesn't want to sit in like an LFR or a pug raid, or doesn't have the skill or even or like the dedicated team to run Mythic Plus, this is just for them. So it's I think it's cool that it's a personal journey for these kinds
Mhm.
of players. And it doesn't, and nothing that anyone says really needs to affect them. It's like, okay, well, you only do like that shit content. Well, yeah, this is all I do. So what?
Yeah.
What's your problem with what I like doing? Um, so that's what's got me excited for Torghast. I'm going to promise this now. I'm going to make 2 paladins, and I'm going to have one. My main is going to be my main. I'm going to do it the way that I normally do. But then this other paladin, I'm only going to progress him like solo, and I want to see
Hmm.
like how far I can take him,
Okay.
and see how that works out. Now, of course, Torghast might suck, and so that experiment might not
I've
last
made a
very
huge
long.
mistake.
What have I done? No, no. But hey, we still have this double XP weekend for what, 2 weeks or so. So I'm
I
going
got
to,
my second warrior's already probably finished at
yeah. See there, yeah,
110.
yeah. See
But
there we go. But um, Visions have done a lot for me in terms of like personal growth or my growth as a player, because it got me interested in playing
yeah.
every other class that nothing has ever done. Not even in Legion with like artifact weapons and the cool storyline and the Mage Tower, it didn't do it. But I think to myself that if the Mage Tower came out in the last patch of Legion, at the same time when we had those Awakening Essences to buy those legendaries and do all that stuff, I probably would have liked. I probably would have leveled up all my classes and bought all those legendaries and did all that stuff because I knew that I would have that. I knew I would have access to that. But for it to come, for the Mage Tower to come so early, and Awakening Essences to come at the very, very end, I felt like I wouldn't be challenged at that point. It's like, okay, well, I'm just going to do like LFR and get all this like easy gear and stuff. And, from there, I just, do the challenge and then I'm done. It didn't motivate me to win it. That's kind of the mindset that I think I had at the time. So, yeah, boo on you, Blizzard, for not putting in a legendary vendor back in 7.2. If they did that, I would have played like all my alts, did all the quest lines and all that stuff. So, oh well for them. But
that's interesting. It's interesting you bring up the Mage Tower as that example, though. The thing where the Mage Tower, you still could have went and got those artifacts.
I could have, yeah.
And I'll tell you, some of them were still difficult. Some of them I still had to really had to learn a little bit to kind of learn how to do that, to make sure to get some of them done. I did not get all of them, but I got most of the tank ones, the ones I wanted. But I think the difference between the two, between Visions and the Mage Tower, is Mage Tower, right? Like you were trying to refine yourself over and over, right? It's like learn how to do a raid, right? Like get the mechanics. All right, at this moment I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna do this. Vision starts out that way. That's why I think I fully understand this 5 chest drive thing that you're going on, because I get it. Because each time when you finish that, the first time you get it, like it feels like I kind of conquered that castle a little bit, right? And I totally get that. But it's, imagine for a Mage Tower if they had the same thing, but once you did it the first time, you're like, yeah, I got that artifact. I'm like, good. Now to upgrade it, you're gonna need to do this 4 more times every single week. It takes out the fun on it. But I do challenge you. I would like to up your challenge. I know you want to do it every spec. I say go 5 chests, all the specs. I challenge you to at least 3 mask all 6 tanks.
3 mask all 6 tanks.
Just 3, right? That's not hard, right? But there's still a little bit of work.
Yeah. So all the mechanics and things like that.
I think once you get to 3 masks, I think that then it becomes much more significant. And I'll let you take like the burn bridge, whatever. I forgot the other ones.
Well, I imagine
the guy that comes at 50%.
Well, the 3, I consider
4.
I mean, I consider a 3 mask being, the ones that give the mechanics, not exactly the half sanity or the sanity penalty ones. You're gonna have to up that though. You're gonna have to handicap me more, because if you let me get like a full Titanic research, it's gonna be dirt easy.
Sure, but you still gotta work your way up there, and I think that's where where my burnout started to come in. Once I started pushing my alts to that level of like trying to get gear that I can actually wear in a Mythic Plus, like that's where it gets burned out, right? Where all my guys have the Titanic research and all that, but you're trying to do the 3, 4. I do have the achievement for 5 masking both, so I've done it. I'll never do it again. 4 mask only for me, just for my upgrades. But I think that's where the monotony really starts to set in, and mainly because I'm a player who I hate stuns, slows, disorients. That's why I don't play PvP. I never do. I can't stand stun locks, and that's where I feel like that's the main mechanic that you're trying to avoid, is that stun lock, perpetual stun lock till death, and that's not fun to me.
Gotcha.
That's what sucks the fun out of it. I totally understand your drive for the 5 chesting low level players. I think I understand that, and I think it's that I totally agree with you. My paladin was 350 2 weeks ago. I think he's like 445 or whatever now, but same issues, right? I couldn't get a weapon. I was like I had to run a heroic for the daily quest had a weapon in there, so I was like, oh, I actually have to run a heroic.
Yeah, here we go.
It never happens. But yeah, once you get that first 5 chests, you're like, aha. But pushing mask wise, I think is where the monotony really sets in.
Oh, I bet. And that's why I decided at first. I mean, I might change my mind on this as you're suggesting, but that's why I decided on 5, because anything more than that, because right now the data that I have is that okay, by the time I get 5 chests on both Orgrimmar and Stormwind, I'm really close to a 440 item level.
Right.
My cloak rank is around 10 or 11 or
Mhm.
so. And so going any further than that, I feel like I'm contaminating like the purity of these of this test because okay, like and I don't have Gift of the Titans on any of these characters, so I think by the time I do get that, like I feel like okay, I'll have Gift. And then of course my strategy is going to entirely revolve around good use of using Gift of the Titans. Things will change from there. So I
True.
can sense the fun there, but of course I got to think about like the whole scope of the project too. It's like okay, like it's taken long enough for me to get 5 chests on all
Right.
the classes. The alpha was just announced today, so uh, there's going to be a slowdown there, but it is at least nice that
Mhm.
whenever I am on these characters, it's like so focused on doing very specific content that maybe I won't have an opportunity to contaminate it by okay, let me just do like one LFR for a weapon, or let me just do this mythic plus so I can get like a cheap thing because some
Right.
guildie is doing a run or doing a carry. So but I definitely want to prove mostly to myself that it's like can I pick up these things? Can I pick up these classes that I don't know and try to figure things out in my own way? And
Right.
that has been a fun journey that it's been a lot of fun to share. So
Yeah. No. Yeah. And like I said, I appreciate the trial and error too. Right. Is how players learn. I think that a lot of players have kind of gone past the point where they're not learning anything new about their characters. They
uh-huh,
just this is the kind of thing that I do, and that's what I do.
uh-huh,
And doing it at lower item level and stuff like that, like the same reason Mage Tower was exciting is it forced you to like go into your spell book of like what else can I do here
uh-huh.
to make myself better, and that's what separates, in my opinion, the good players from the not so great
Yeah.
players is understanding the minutia of what your character and your class can do, and I think that the kind of thing you're doing right now is really puts you in that perspective and lets people and shows that anyone can do this. Just take the time, um, learn any class. Just all you gotta do is put in the effort.
Yeah, I'm considering because people have requested, hey, you should put some of your failed runs up
Love
on
to.
YouTube as well. And I'm like, so I was thinking just the other day, I'm like, okay, I was trying out stuff on the Rogue. Oh my god, man, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to be on that character. Like if people,
Rogues are harder to play than people think.
yeah, it's such a unfamiliar thing to me. I'm like, okay, stab,
Mhm.
stab, combo thing. Where's
Yep.
my AOE? There's the AOE. Oh, it's on cooldown. Okay, let me try a different spec and do this AOE. No, fan of knives kind of sucks. But if I use it, yeah, it's that's gonna be like the biggest learning experience for me, more than
Yep.
anything. My shaman I've been struggling a lot with. But like I think yeah, right now it's the shaman and the rogue that have been giving me like a lot of trouble. Everyone else, I'm pretty much on pace. I'm like, okay, I think I'll be able to get some more 5 chests in a week or so. The monk is feeling pretty good as a mist weaver. I was able to
Mm.
figure out some tricks with that one to try and get past it. So it's been fun.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, look forward to that as soon as I
Keep it
get
up.
around to it later. All right, so let's move on a little bit to corruption, the other big
Hmm.
new thing that is temporary that for patch 8.3. You put on a line here. Is it fun or dumb? I like how it rhymed there.
Ooh. Unintentional.
I think it is fun when you get the good shit. Or I'm sorry, it's fun when you have a lot of stuff to choose from. So it's like having your whole collection of tier sets or having all of the legendaries that you've gotten for Legion. Once you have it, cool. Let's play around with stuff and
Hmm.
figure out what's cool. For anyone who who isn't getting the pieces that they want, though, the system's fucking stupid, man.
It does.
I'm
It
not
feels
getting
bad.
any of the good drops. I'm seeing all these other people topping the meters and not me. Fuck this. Bring back Titan Forging, which is also ludicrous, more ludicrous in my opinion. But that's my hot take on it. What about you?
That's fine. Yeah, I'm with you. It feels bad until you get it. It's the whole like Legion Legendary syndrome of like these things are the worst, and then at the end of the expansion, everybody's like, "This is the greatest expansion of all time." Like, because yeah, just getting there feels bad. And even on my Demon Hunter, I still don't have a max Twilight Devastation. That's the piece that I need, to complete my to make myself viable. Um,
Oh,
uh,
fireball. No, that's like
but that's what I want. So that's whatever it is. But I mean, I don't mind the corruption idea. The one thing I wish they do is they got to balance. Even now, the balance still feels way off.
it
Like
does. Yeah.
and so once they start giving free corruptions for all these visions, I never noticed how many other bad corruptions there are. Like,
Yeah, it's
I mean, as a tank, you're only looking for a few. I mean, there's a Twilight Devastation, right? And then, if you want like Gushing Wounds, which I don't think exists because I still never seen it, and I've probably looted like probably over 150 corruption pieces, and I've never seen a single one yet. Your Tentacles, if you want to, go full into that, and then Verse Gear is going to become a thing. Keep all your Verse stuff.
I've been holding on to the verse stuff though. That
That's
has
going to
been
get
working out.
yeah. Once we keep adding on more and more corruption resistance, Verse Gear is going to become really really good for tanks. So just hang on to those. I mean, they're a great way to kind of like slot in those like the midway points. Like if you got like 10 corruption, you could throw in some of those. So hang on to those things; they'll come back. But yeah, it's just the acquisition process is just annoying, and I really think they screwed it when they nerfed
Echoing
Echoing
Void.
Void so bad. It was too much, man.
I was sad.
Unnerf it 50%. It was a little too much.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one thing I wish they weren't as affected by Race to World First. I think that was a big problem, is that they saw how important Echoing Void was to that, and so they just crushed it into the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little too much.
I mean, having it. It's just weird that they totally killed it. But at the same time, as for the other stuff, TD and Infinite Stars, I mean, they did get nerfs, but they were like, all right, let's do a little beep 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 over here and a little
small
boop, boop, boop
increment
here. Whereas, with Echo and Void, they just took a hammer to it, and that really sucks. I mean, I get it, like, kind of like TD, Echoing Void scales. It scales with health, and for certain tanks that can up their HP pools by like a crap ton. I mean, like the whole meta was,
pray that escalating HP pools and use meta.
yeah. I mean, the strat would be like, okay, pray that you get like a lot of stacks, and if you do have a lot of stacks, when you do see that you're exploding, go ahead and pop your HP, your HP increasing cooldown, and all of a sudden you're just like destroying whatever mobs that you're fighting. So it got it.
Wait, you can do that when you see it?
Well, when you explode, because each explosion is its own separate pulse. So it's not like it doesn't snapshot. So what you can do
I
is
did not know that. I assumed it was like so I get it now. So as a DK then, so if you come out, then you hit Vamp Blood.
Yeah, then you have like the 1.5 million thing. You're just like wow. And so that's kind of where that nerf came from.
Didn't know that.
But still, like they could have done, a target cap or a maximum, maybe not max stacks. I don't think that really matters, but like a target cap, or just like not bring it down to 1% or whatever, whatever it is right now. It's a big doo doo. But yeah, I think that there were way too many like trash corruptions. I think that instead of like hey, let's have a separate corruption for haste, verse, mastery, etc. Just have it all
both percentage increases and actual raw numbers too.
Yeah. To have that mashed into a simplified thing. So like, corruption was kind of cool, but there were just too many, and that watered down. That messed with your odds. It messed with your odds of getting like the thing that you may actually want, or something that would feel just a little bit more compelling. Because I'll be like, oh, okay, great, I got, I got a mastery thing. Whoop de fucking do. That's going straight to the trash can. Meanwhile, something like Gushing Wounds, that's kind of like, the way I see it. Gushing Wounds is like the Titan Forge, the max level Titan Forge of corruption, because ideally, if you can get a whole bunch of those on each and every slot of your gear, then
Right.
you'll do like some insane damage. But you need to get to that point. And so every moment you are not getting towards that point, you feel bad. So that's why I think like gushing wounds is like a standout sort of deal when it comes to like the feel badness of corruption. But then otherwise, if you get a max TD or a max infinite stars on a 470, wrist or pants or gloves, who gives a shit where it came from, or who gives a shit if it's like, oh, it doesn't have ideal stats. Oh no, the people who have argued that there's like multiple layers of that RNG, you just got to consider that getting that good corruption on that piece of gear, who cares what that piece of gear is anymore? I'll wear leather if it gets me, if I happen to see like a really good thing that I want. Yeah, I'll take a hit on my armor, whatever, or on my main stat, because it'll do that much better anyway.
Sure.
And I think people don't really consider that. But overall,
you know what you do?
What's up?
Here's how you fix it.
There you go.
Is you know how they have the scrapper, right?
Yeah.
So what if you just like Mother will cleanse stuff, but what if Rathion or something invented a corruption scrapper, and so every time you scrap something,
essence of the thing,
a essence of corruption.
Yeah.
Use essence of corruption, and Rathion can corrupt your pieces for you.
There are so many different ways.
Make it a little bit out of reach, right? Make it like when you want to. I think the Titan Residuum is a great way, right? If you want to selectively pick a certain one, you need to really go out of your way to get that much Residuum to pick like that one specific piece of gear. But it's achievable. Do the same thing. Just make it where it's like it's going to take you like 3 or 4 weeks to get like a max 3 TD thing. But you know what? It's achievable, and people can. It makes all this corruption you're getting something that can be useful. It won't feel bad. Like wrong one, scrap it.
Yeah.
Or sell it or whatever it is you do with them at this point.
Yeah. There are multiple.
Better.
Yeah, there are multiple ways that they could have won about this. Sure. Yeah,
but it seems like in Shadowlands they even mentioned that they understand that players like working toward a goal, and even if it's a while off, at least give something achievable. Like, people like currencies. I don't care what anybody says. Currencies are fine.
Yeah, no, I'm cool with that, and so I'm really glad with the whole alpha announcement that one of the things is that they're going to bring back PvP vendors, and PvP is not my thing, but the fact that they're bringing that back, and it's like, okay, cool, they eventually listened, and they're responding to that, because like in hindsight, like the way Conquest has worked and everything, like it's it worked out okay depending on the kind of player that you are, but then like for the person who's like, yeah, I'm a PvPer, this is what I do,
right.
It was a pain, because you're like, okay, I want this piece, and I'm entirely at the mercy of like the end of chest arena match or BG that I did, and like that's it. There's no control at all, so I have all these things that I'm like disenchanting or cleansing or whatever, and that feels bad. So
right, it does.
Yeah, same thing goes for like a lot of other things. So it's cool that they're getting vendors along with those upgrade things. So I'm really curious as to how
upgrade tokens and stuff. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, so I'm really curious how that's going to work out in on the PvE side of things. What's going to happen with Mythic Plus and raids? Are they going to get some sort of like minor upgrade thing or not? And I'm not sure how I feel about that, actually. I mean, I
don't know either. I think it's on them to design, and it's on us to provide feedback and them to listen to it. I think whenever we do our big full expansion revamp, I think the thing you hear most from me is Blizzard, people want to give the feedback, they give it, listen to it. I think that's the main thing. I think a lot of people initially in this expansion didn't feel like the feedback wasn't getting through, and now we're starting to see it. They're listening to players' responses. All these things with the vision changes and all that. I feel like there was an outburst, and they reacted to people and kind of, not say bend to their will, but they gave them, they met him halfway at least.
No, I appreciate that.
Me too.
I'm
sure, entirely.
I'm sure that there's always going to be the critique of it could have been done faster, Blizz, or they should have thought about this like from the very start, Blizz. What are you guys thinking? But I think it's hard to understand, even from our even from our perspective, and I try to understand. I know that's the way I feel about something is definitely not going to be the same way that someone else is going to feel about something. They even if we might be coming from a similar perspective as a self-described casual that just does this form
Sure.
of gameplay, we might still feel totally different about certain things and certain approaches and the way that we get our happiness from this game that we play. Well, yeah, that's
Yeah.
and this kind of goes into a segue with the last thing about 8.3, the whole thing about account wide ish essences for alts.
Speaking of things that came too late.
Yeah. I know that one of the big critiques of that was, okay, Blizzard, one, isn't listening, but two, Blizzard is also doing something that is very alt friendly in Shadowlands with their approach to leveling and this whole alt game plus or new game plus, where once you level up and choose your covenant and do all that sort of stuff, your alts can immediately choose the covenant because you technically had played through the entirety of the story already. So you might as well skip through that part and choose your covenant right away. It's not like you're going to be elevated to max level right away, but you will be able to start progressing through end game, and it'll make leveling feel a little bit more meaningful without it feeling like too joined, or that you're not getting it for free. You can just start progressing through. So it is cool that Blizzard finally listened to themselves, I guess.
I guess.
And brought that back to the BFA philosophies and things like that. But it's a nice compromise that you're still doing that sort of work, but you have the freedom to do the things that you want to do, and you don't need to necessarily, hey dude, can I do a PvP island again for my third or fourth alt? I need a hand. And that felt really bad in those instances where it was just like super hard to get that stuff. On the other hand, an example of I guess where it worked out fine was the Crucible of Flame, because thanks to knowledge, your alts will get they can get to rank level 70 or whatever on their neck like super fast, so they can immediately just access those quests. So that in essence is being moved, or that in essence was funny, huh? That was basically adopted throughout all the other essences. It's like, okay, cool, that works. It was like it's not account wide, it's not free, but it's elegant enough to be like, okay, that's cool. And it's fast. Like I'm easily able to get like all the essences that I need for all of my alts in like just about a week or so. And I'm not trying to grind through, okay, let me try and get through a couple of LFR runs so I can squeeze out a little bit more of those of those currencies, whatever they're called, I forgot now. It just took about a week or so, and working on all of these different alts, it didn't really take me that much time at all.
Well, if you do your flame, right, that's like an hour's worth of questing, and then I still think it takes about like two weeks or so. If you just do like the bare minimum, right, you're just doing your assaults. If you get a mythic plus cash in, a few things, because I still think I'm one short on my paladin. I can still get like a rank 3 on my fourth one, but tomorrow I'll get it, right. So when I open my cache, it'll be enough for me to get there. But yeah, I'm still okay with it. I don't mind the acquisition process now. I don't care about people complaining about like, oh well, it should have been just like every alt I had should be able to immediately access a rank 3. I think working a little bit to get what you want on a player that you want to play is fine. It should take you a couple of weeks to get yourself in a good position where you can kind of dabble in the content you want. Like probably on Tuesday, I should be able to take my paladin to the raid now. Like it took me 2 weeks to get there, but that's good. Like I kind of figured out the play a little bit and the differences between that and what other tanks do and things like that. And I'm fine with that. I don't think it should be like ready, set, go. No, I'm doing 15s on this character. I just started yesterday.
That's going a bit too far.
It's not, and you're not getting anything from that. You're not allowing a player to do it. I appreciate what they're doing in Shadowlands too. The idea of letting an alt start kind of with a leg up. Everybody knows when you play a game, if once you beat it, the second time through, you're not playing the same game anymore. Because you're not an experienced player. You know what you're looking for. You're not gonna. I mean, something to be said about the first time through an RPG and finding your way and figuring out what works for you. That's how every RPG should be. But that second time through, you're streamlining, man. Like
Yeah.
you're like, I ain't got time for that. I don't want to
Hmm.
doodle around of like I have to do this thing just to make sure like the game goes, uh, hitting those cutscenes or whatever it is whatever type of game you're playing. You're experienced now. Don't act like you're not.
Yeah.
And I think that is one thing that Blizzard hopefully they work toward is understanding that. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there saying like, but you know, character player fantasy that each time you should go through it should be that character and you're experiencing things. Treat each player like they are an account. That there is a real person behind that, and that person's seen this stuff before. Let them get to the stuff that they want to get to, uh, and they will enjoy the game. That's why we all play this game. Like, I don't. The faster you let me get to a place where I can start doing mythic pluses or rating, at a level that is kind of what I'm accustomed to, I'm just gonna keep leveling my other ults. It doesn't matter. But if I get to a point where like it is too difficult for me to achieve that, then I'll just stop doing it.
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing that Blizzard needs to learn is we love this game. That's why we play it, because we love it. Let players just play it. Let's have fun.
Yeah, that was something that slowly as I read comments and looked at forum posts, that was something that was slowly beating into my own head, because before I was a lot less compassionate about that, and I would be like, no, just suck it up and do it. You're on your alt. This is the alt tax. Pay it. But there came a point where um some comment broke the camel's back and all that, where I decided, well, you know what, I guess there is that point. There's some sort of medium that comes. There's got to be some sort of balance between, okay, yeah, you need to have your character earn these things, versus, hey, you know what, you as a player, you're mechanically doing all these things over and over and over again. It is the exact same thing that you're doing, regardless of whether you're experiencing it as a monk versus a paladin, or a tank versus a healer versus a DPS. It is still essentially going to be the same thing. And I think Blizzard has shifted things a little bit in favor of things being a little bit more alt friendly, and I think that the game overall is going to be better for it. It's
Yeah, I
interesting
hope
that
so.
they're deciding, hey, you know what, level the entire leveling quest line. You know what? Sure, let's go ahead and and make that an entirely optional thing that you just don't have to do anymore after that first time. And I think that's a big step.
Yep.
That It doesn't worry me, but I'm just surprised that they're taking that they're going at such lengths to make things a little bit friendlier for players. But at the same time, at the very least, hey, we're still doing stuff. We're still going to be, like, doing the dailies and doing quests and other such things. I'll be curious to see like how much faster or slower it's going to be for alts when they're leveling through this content. If it's going to feel the same, or if it's going to be like a little bit slower, but in exchange they're already, by the time they do get to max level, they're going to be at or either at or at a better place than their main was the first time. I'm trying to remember. I think that they talked about that like just a little bit, but you should be like a little bit ahead of yourself, of your main. I'm sorry, when you get to max level on your alts, and I think that's going to be pretty interesting.
Yep. I think it's a thing that Ian did with Bay and Preach in his interview. That's where he mentioned. Yeah, I hope so. I think there's you have your main, and I think that your main should always be, if you're always doing the content, your main should always be ahead of
Mhm.
everything you're doing. But I think there's no reason to give alts just a little bit of leg up, and I think this essence thing, again, still too late, but um, regardless, with even the tokens you got to earn and stuff, I think that's the way it should be, right? Like I'm not great, but I put in a ton of work to get these things, and I can build my character up in a position where I can, if I wanted to make it a swap, you could eventually get there, and yeah, you'd have to at least put in a little bit of time. So yeah, I think that's the way to go, and I think that it looks like they've listened to player feedback, and hopefully they continue to, right? Like,
So the last line here says, "Did 8.3 save BFA?" I talked about this in a very recent video that I put out, so I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I happened to just see your video this morning.
Haha.
I know I was actually I was getting ready for the vitriol for like I'm gonna comment on this thing. You know what? Uh, I think you're right. Again, as for people that haven't been watching the videos before, I only play this game. In a little bit of Animal Crossing. I don't play a lot of other games. I just play World of Warcraft. The only thing I really care to do. I've put so much time and effort into this game, and I love it. I still, no matter how much I complain about, essences or whatever is going on, right? Like Mythic Plus going bad, somebody leaving a key, you know, taking too long rating. I still love it. That's why I log in every day. I love it. I love this game. Um, I think 8.3 put a light at the end of the tunnel for what's coming up in Shadowlands.
I like that.
I wish it wasn't gonna be that way, right? Like I don't like the expansion up, expansion down thing, but it feels like that is the way it's going again. But it shows they're taking player feedback. They're making alts isn't necessarily the way I like to put it. I like to think of it as so that each player is an account, and we represent a wide swath of different types of players. And Blizzard's recognizing that there is a player behind that computer, cater to the player, not the the NPC character
Right.
they are. So yeah, I'm enjoying myself. I've already hit my goals. I got my 15 dungeon achievement thing, which was fantastic for me. That was my only goal to
Congrats.
get out of this. Yeah, thanks. I hit the 5 mask on both, and we finally got AOTC. So I think we've hit our goals. So I'm just kind of riding it out. I'm actually gonna do something for myself, like you're testing yourself with doing all the visions and playing alts and things. I'm gonna try to heal. I have never healed in this game ever. I've been playing for 15 years and I've never done it.
Good.
So I'm gonna give myself my own challenge, and I'm gonna work toward that. So let's see how. I'm sure I'll probably quit after a week, but I want to push myself in enjoying another aspect of this game can provide that I've never taken part in. So yeah, I don't know if it saved BFA, but I definitely feel like the wait until Shadowlands is something that I don't feel like I'm going to regret it as bad. Like I won't be sludging through this. I won't be taking a break. I'll still be here. I'll still be logging in, messing around, because the game's still fun.
I like those takeaways that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and that it made the wait better. I do think 8.3 as it is right now after the hot fixes and everything, it's gonna make this so-called content drought much more bearable than it would have been otherwise. Like if 8.3 didn't have any hot fixes with regards to like coalescing visions and things like that, or of course the essence unlocks, we would be in a lot of trouble. There'd be a lot of people that would just feel like super burnt out and wouldn't be nearly as interested in, okay, let me get on an alt and do some other stuff. Oh right, essences, I don't know,
Right.
man. So I do think 8.3 it made BFA, like if someone brand new were to be crazy enough to pick up BFA right now, I think they'd have a good time because they have all these different things that they can do. They'd have to work pretty hard in order to do things like unlock essences and everything. But then
Sure.
once they're able to, at least their alts can have like a good time, and they largely have have a pretty accessible bit of content. But as for did it save BFA? Nah, I think that the stigma of this entire 2 year slog has left a pretty bad taste in people's mouths. For me, just like you, I'm a fan. I love the game. I'm going to keep playing until the server shut down. But I'm not blind to the fact that there's a lot of people that that were whittled away by all the little things, from not liking the story to having to grind for flying to
The
essences
story was weak.
to Azeroth. We'll talk about that later, or we'll talk about it in another thing some other time. But yeah, there are a lot of little things that whittled down our attentions, and of course there's so many other things that happen, other games coming out, and so on and so forth. Excuse me. So yeah, BFA isn't going to be looked back on very fondly. I mean, maybe years from now, when we're at the expansion after Shadowlands, if we are going this upturn, downturn sort of thing, we're going to look back and be like, man, I really miss Azerite essences and that
Are
sort
you
of stuff.
thinking? Are you thinking there's going to be a mop like people changing their perspective halfway through the next expansion?
It
Because
could
remember, when
be.
mop ended, there was a lot of vitriol. People were angry, mainly for the content drought, right? And there's like
Mhm.
mop, the worst expansion ever.
Yeah.
I distinctly recall by the time like Tanan Jungle was like when people were just like perusing around and people were like, man, mop was so good.
Well, I mean, yeah. I remember like people talked. They really talked up. Well, like Time was oh man, that was like the greatest thing ever, and I did not like it. For me, as soon as the guild kind of like disbanded, or as soon as we kind of went on our break, because we did go on our break, sometime into I think like 5 or 6 bosses into heroic siege. Um, I was bored. Like there wasn't really much for me to do. I was just like, okay, I don't give a crap about Timeless Isle. There's just the raid, and like that's it. I didn't bother really doing much of anything else. I was just kind of like slogging along until Warlords came out, and then I was super excited, and then I was like, oh, reality set in. Um, but yeah, as for like the expansion, as for like the overall package, I like Mob. It had a really good, it had its ups and downs. Yeah, I didn't like the whole daily thing. That grind was like a big pain in the ass, but overall, like the experience, the environments, the raids, it was a 3.5, 4 out of 5 stars or something like that. If I were to put a rating
Hmm,
on it, like I enjoyed it. So, but as for BFA, I'm not sure. It's hard
okay.
to look back. Obviously, since we're still kind of in the present, it's hard to look back on it fondly. I'm sure that people won't really appreciate. Oh yeah, Crucible of Storms. That was really something, right? What Crucible of what? Oh, okay. So I think there are going to be fewer memorable things about BFA that we'll look back fondly on. Um, I think Azerite essences post 8.3 are something that will be looked back on fondly because it's like, yeah, it was cool having those crazy powers, man. But we'll see, because we're going to get crazy powers right at the very start of Shadowlands, and we'll be able to play with these things and try to figure out what's cool and what's not. Um, Pretend that we can sim these, and pretend that there's a best covenant and a worst covenant. We'll see how Blizzard handles that sort of feedback. um but yeah, to circle back, no, 8.3 didn't save BFA for people who really felt burned on it. But as for those of us who are sticking around,
Hmm.
I think we're having a pretty good fucking time. I'm like, hey,
Yeah,
I'm perfectly happy, man. So yeah, that's my closing thoughts on on
I'm
that
having a good
subject.
time as long as I max out my cape and I only got to do it once a week.
Yeah, I'm horrified. I'm gonna be horrified if I have to end up like getting like Gift of the Titans, or have to rank up my cloak to like 13 or 14. Ugh, I'll feel so bad about myself. I'll probably just sit on upgrades and be like, okay, I refuse to get this upgrade, or I'm gonna have like tons of mementos. I'm like, I'm not gonna get gift, no way, because that'll be like way too much. But we'll
It's a
see.
lot.
So, any closing thoughts from you, man?
No, I think it's great. I think one thing I want you to take with you, and you can dwell on this, is now that we're done, right?
Okay.
And we'll talk about this later. I want you to think about where this expansion ranks with other expansions.
Oh God.
And think about it in hindsight, right? Don't don't have to take like your
So,
immediate thoughts,
so
right?
so 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 don't say it now.
Not just hang on to it. I want you to dwell on it,
Ah,
right? 'Cause I think it's too easy to react to this expansion quickly and um with your heart.
I agree.
So think about it. We'll talk about it. Save as a topic. I'm
Yes.
just curious to weigh the good and bad, and then see where you're at. I'm just curious to hear.
Yeah, because I did rank expansions once upon a time, and people did
I know
not like that one.
people get very upset, and I think
Oh yeah.
that's always interesting to where people rank certain expansions. That I've heard people even say things like Wrath is the worst expansion, which is insane. Um, but I think that's always a very interesting and personal topic,
Oh yeah,
because
yeah.
a
Because
lot of people take what they play in this game, how things are going with them personally too, right?
yeah.
There's a lot of things. Nostalgia is a big deal.
Oh yeah. I have a
So
lot. I actually have a
yeah,
lot of bad things that I could say about the Wrath experience, but
sure,
no,
for
yeah,
sure,
yeah,
sure. But just hang on to
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Just dwell on
Another
it.
day.
Dwell on
Another
it.
day.
Dwell again, and then hopefully, once this whole alpha thing gets started off, I hope you get the invite. I look forward to it. Again, congrats on getting Taliesin to show up in your video. That was super impressive.
Oh right, you were asking about that. I'll say it here. So like, I just sent him a direct message on Twitter real quick, and then I sent him a tweet saying, "Hey, I'm direct messaging you because I think I don't know that I'm paranoid. That seems to be the best way to contact anyone on Twitter. Just send them messages both ways, so that way not only did they see it, but the public sees that I'm trying to contact them too, and maybe that'll work out. So, but yeah,
Wait, guilt trip him. Got it.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. So,
understood.
well, I didn't want to say that, but
That's fine.
oh well. But yeah, all I said was, here are the instructions. Here are the lines that I want you to say, and if you can do it, great. But if you can't, I hope your family's doing well, and wash your hands and take care. Good talk. Bye. And then maybe about 10, 15 minutes later, he answers, "Yeah, I can do it. Just give me a day. You can, I can come through." I'm like, "All right, cool." And then he came through in a day. Yeah, so it was cool. I'm really grateful that he came through for that, because otherwise I would have had nothing for there was so little to talk about last week, and now
it's fine.
Yeah, this week's gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I wish you the best, man. Yeah, hopefully just keep doing the work you're doing, man. I've been following you since I still remember you talking about, I think I'm gonna start doing these YouTube videos, and I was like, do it, man, do it. I'm excited for you. But yeah, no, keep it up, man. I think I gotta get going here. It's time for our daily walk. Keep the fan busy, keep us get a little bit of air. Trying to all stay sane in this crazy world, but thank God, WoW's fun right now, right?
Yeah,
WoW and Animal Crossing.
I'm good with that, man.
Of the pandemic.
we got this on lock, man. We're good.
Yeah,
we're good.
All right, man. Well, keep talking as always, and stay safe, brother.
Good talk, man. Stay healthy.
Later. Yeah, you too. Bye.
See ya.